Our next guest is Amanda Heal. Amanda is an amazing human and has had a few challenges. Now, she has a very exciting story to tell us. Hello, Amanda.
Hello, how are you?
I am very well. Thank you so much for your patience. I don't know whether you heard me telling Marina, but I had a power outage and I was really challenged with using my phone. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'll never get everything on and I'll never get everything recorded. But it's all good now. We're all recording. We're all doing all the right things. And so I am now excited to hear your story about increasing resilience by building courage, because I know that you have built courage throughout your life. And thank you so much for being here. And a little bit about Amanda. Honestly, she is an amazing human. She is a resilience expert and has an extraordinary life story. She survived being born 14 weeks premature in the 1970s when such tiny babies were not deemed to be viable to survive. She was so small that her father could hold her in the palm of his hand. And the oxygen which kept her alive at birth unfortunately damaged her eyes, leaving her totally blind. But despite this challenge, Amanda has continued to surprise people with her professional and personal achievements. After graduating with honours in law from the Australian National University, she embarked on a 17-year legal career. In her spare time, she climbed to an altitude of 10,000 feet in Nepal and conquered her phobia of getting lost to travelling independently both within Australia and overseas. In her keynote talks, Amanda shares her 5 keys to increasing resilience by building courage. And when she's not speaking, she is a podcaster. She is an author of multiple books. The latest of her books is called Seeing by Vision, Not by Sight. Amanda, thank you again for being here, and I look so forward to your presentation. Please, the floor is now yours, and I will chat to you after your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Did you know that a saltwater crocodile can snap its massive jaws shut with the bite strength of almost 15 times that of a human? That is enough to bite through steel, and plenty enough, more than enough, to shatter human bone. But of course, the Panqui family weren't thinking about this when they pitched their tent by a river on the Northern Territory, Western Australian border, well known for its barramundi. And Lena was sitting up talking to her eldest son, Peter, and she decides to lie down to rest because it's getting late. So she lies down, makes herself comfortable, and then she hears a rustling and she thinks, oh, that's probably just pigs coming down to drink, but better have a look, better get up and see. So she hops up on her elbow and has a look, and what does she see but a massive saltwater crocodile coming towards the tent? Look out, she yells, look what's coming. But it's too late, and the croc crashes through the screen of the tent and grabs Lena with such force around the chest that it breaks many of her ribs and very badly damages her liver. Her eldest son, Peter, hearing the noise, sits up and sees the massive croc with Lena in its jaws. But then he remembers what his father told him when he was a child about how to scare off a crocodile. So he slides his hand up its nose and gets to where its eye should be and pokes with all his might. And thankfully, that's enough. And the crocodile lets go of Lena and slides back down into the water. I don't know about you, but I can't imagine how much courage that must have taken to do that. Because, I mean, hell, anything could have happened. The crocodile could have taken Lena with it. It could have let go of Lena and grabbed hold of him. But it didn't. And he exhibited extraordinary courage that night and saved Lena's life. And here they both are, Peter and Lena. And what I didn't tell you was that Lena also exhibited extraordinary courage that night because her husband, Peter Sr., was recovering from a recent illness. And she had put her body between him and the crocodile, saving his life as well. So life isn't always easy, is it? And today, you and I face more uncertainty than most of us probably have in our lifetimes, particularly in business. There's so many changes going on, and supply chain issues, and the dreaded virus, and staffing problems, and so much uncertainty. But the good news is, it really is possible to face that uncertainty by building your courage. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to fight off a saltwater crocodile because, well, I've sort of done that already. But what I do want to talk to you about today is my 5-step focus methodology. And over 52 years or 53 now, I've just turned 53, I'm getting old, 53 years of life, as a blind person, I have faced and overcome many challenges. And that has led me to develop this 5-focus methodology, which will show you how to build your courage so that you too can face and overcome your challenges. So what we'll cover: fix your eyes on the prize, not the problem. Optimize your goals for outstanding outcomes. Connect with your conviction for greater consistency. Upgrade your courage for unbelievable results. And finally, see your success by putting your courage into action. And that all spells out focus. So firstly, fix your eyes on the prize, not the problem. You heard from my bio that I had a 17-year law career, but I was suddenly made redundant from that career, which was absolutely devastating. But it allowed me to follow my dream of being a speaker. So once I'd finished my training, I was offered a PR position, a paid position with Guide Dogs New South Wales, ACT. And I jumped at the chance because I knew that that would enable me to improve my newly gained speaking skills, and it would also allow me to give back to the agency that provided me with 4 beautiful guide dogs absolutely free. Now, I had to have an interview for this job, and so I'm sitting at the interview, and the interviewer looks at me and says, "Now, how are you going to travel to speaking engagements?" Well, I say by taxi, of course, by like every other self-respecting speaker who can't drive. Well, she says, what would you say if I told you that you would have to travel to as many speaking engagements as you could by public transport? Well, the bottom dropped out of my world because I hadn't caught a bus for almost 20 years, and I had become convinced that if I caught a bus on my own, I would get lost, and that would be an absolute disaster. So come with me, if you will, on the journey that I went on that day. And if you like, you can close your eyes or put your hands over your eyes, whatever you prefer to make it a little bit more authentic. So imagine you're standing at the bus stop, or I'm standing at the bus stop, and I'm thinking to myself, gosh, how will I know when it's my bus? Sighted people talk about hailing buses. Do I have to hail a bus? I'm not even quite sure how to do that. And how will I know if it's my bus? I don't want to hail a truck or something. But, the bus comes along and the doors open, and I ask the bus driver what bus it is, and he tells me it's the one I need to catch. So I hop on the bus, and then I think, oh gosh, the buses have changed now. The layout's changed since I was a child. I don't know where the nearest seat is. And what happens if the bus takes off before I sit down? Because if you imagine, you're standing there on the bus with your eyes closed and you don't know where the nearest seat is. And if the bus takes off and you reach out for the nearest handrail, you're not going to know where it is. Anyway, I find a seat without sitting on anyone. And I actually did that once, and you can open your eyes for this little bit. So I'm getting on the bus this earlier time when I was a child, and sliding on the bus, sliding along the seat, and then Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to sit on you. I'm so sorry. He or she didn't talk to me for the whole trip. Anyway, so I find my seat and I sit down without and manage not to sit on anyone. You can close your eyes again if you wouldn't mind. So you're traveling along the bus and I'm thinking, oh, how will I know when it's my stop? How will I know when to get off? What happens if I get off at the wrong stop? I'll be all alone. I'll be lost. Oh my gosh, what will I do? And then you can open your eyes. Then the other interviewer walks in with coffees, takes one look at me and says to the interviewer, what have you done to our speaker? Well, nothing, says the interviewer. I just mentioned buses and she kind of went all white and sweaty and you're not going to be sick on me, are you? No? Oh, gosh, good. No. So anyway, I was feeling too sick and anxious to make a decision as to whether to take the job. So I told them I'd get back to them later. But then I went for a walk and had some lunch and started to think. And I thought, well, gosh, it may not be so bad if I learn how to catch buses, because they've said they'll give me some training and, it might be all right. So, and I also thought that I'd also been reading a book about authentic communication. I thought, well, I can't really stand up and in front of these people and talk about guide dog independence when I'm getting driven everywhere. And besides, and so if I had kept focusing on the problem, which was my fear of getting lost, I would have just out and out said no to that job. But I didn't. I started to look at the possibilities. I started to think about what it would be like to be independent, to be able to leave the house, because I'd become so afraid of getting lost. I wouldn't even leave the house unless I was getting driven by someone that I trusted. I wasn't even catching taxis anymore. I was completely housebound. So I started to think about what it would be like to be independent again and what that would mean and how potentially I could get paid to do something that I'd been doing on a voluntary basis on and off for years, and how good that would be. So what would your challenges look like if you looked at the upside, the prize? What would happen if you fixed your eyes on the prize and not the problem? Now, the next is O in focus, which is optimize your goals for outstanding outcomes. Now, research shows that people who set meaningful goals and then break them down into bite-sized chunks are much more likely to achieve their goals, because every time they achieve one of those pieces, sub-steps of that goal, then that increases their courage. And they can go on to the next one and achieve that one. And that builds their courage still more and more and more and more until they get to the whole goal and they've achieved that goal. And then that gives them courage to go on and set the next goal and achieve that one. So much like learning to drive, when you learned to drive, you didn't just hop in the car and drive down the highway with your license in hand, did you? No, you would have started off small, maybe driving around a quiet car park or up and down a quiet street. And then as your skills grew and your courage increased, then you would have driven on a busier street and then in busier traffic, and then finally on highways and in peak hour traffic, and even at night. And you're probably saying to yourself, what does she know about driving? She's blind. Well, I'll have you know that I have driven a few times. I've driven my dad's boat on Lake Yukonbean, and they used to make jokes about what would happen if they pulled me over and asked me for my boat license. I've driven trucks on my dad's farm, and I've also drove a friend's car around a car park very late one night. And yes, we were both sober. And so I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and these manual cars, they're really hard to start. So after a few sort of kangaroo hops, and those of you from the US might need someone to explain that to you. Kangaroo hops, I eventually got the car started, and we're driving slowly around the car park. And my friend's sitting in the passenger seat saying, now straight, straight, now left, 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 straighten up, right. No, not right, not right, straight. But you said right. But I meant straight. And look where you're going when you're driving. Why? That's my job. I'm blind. Just look where you're going. It makes me feel better. Anyway, we made it around the car park without incident. So I do know a little bit about driving, but what I know a lot more about is getting a guide dog. And that is also a big goal, which needs to be achieved in little bite-sized pieces. And so when I got my last dog, Sadie, we had to start from scratch. You're lucky when you get a new car, you don't have to learn to drive again. But every guide dog is different and the training changes slightly. And so I had to start from scratch. And so walking in a straight line along a quiet residential street. So we're walking along the street and the instructor says, right, okay. And that started to feel pretty good. I was used to the way Sadie was moving and controlling her speed. And then the instructor says, okay, we're coming up to a left-hand turn. Do you remember what to do? And I sort of said, yes. And so got up to the corner and stood in the right position and gave Sadie the left command. And we went around the corner and I was like, oh, this is okay. And we are with, oops, press the wrong button. Here we are with Sadie turning left. And so that was great. We went left around and around the block a few times over a couple of days. And then once we got that down pat, of course, you can't live your life turning left. You have to be able to turn right. So the next time we went around the block the other way and we had to turn right. So we got up to the corner, got in the right position, gave Sadie the right command, and we turned right. So that was great. So once we got our left and right turns down pat, then we had to then tackle a slightly busier residential area. That would be like you driving in light traffic. And so, we had a few cars and a few different things to shopping trolleys and, a few people who had to cross the road. So it wasn't too bad. So we did a couple of those. And then we had to do the mall. Now the mall, that would be like you driving in peak hour. There were people going everywhere. I think it was school holidays. There were people going everywhere. There were little kids running around, people with shopping trolleys not looking where they were going and walking along and all these distractions. And all of a sudden, oh, what's that smell? Oh, Sadie, I like that smell. That's the Apple store. That's my favorite place in all the world. But no, Sadie, straight on. We have to go to Kmart. That's where we had to go. So we went past the Apple store and onto Kmart. And after we had finished the mall, then we went on to the bike track. Now that was like a highway to you. You get to go fast, you get to go straight for a long time, and it's fun. So we did the bike track and that was wonderful. And Sadie, darling Sadie, she's such a wonderful dog, but she doesn't respond to the normal up command to go faster. So I'm walking along the bike track going, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And that was the only way I could get Sadie to speed up. And I think everyone on the bike track thought I was a bit special, but there you go. That's okay. So once we had finished all that, I finally got my guide dog medallion. And that meant that Sadie and I were a qualified independent team and we could travel on our own independently. And believe me, that meant as much to me as your driver's license would have meant to you. So if they'd have just given me Sadie and said, go on, off you go into the wide blue yonder, that wouldn't have worked because Sadie had to learn my height and my width. And I had to learn the way she moved and her different walking speeds. And so we sort of had to do things gradually. So, and like Like you, what business goals are you facing at the moment? Are they seeming a bit overwhelming? How would they look if you broke them down into little achievable bite-sized chunks? Perhaps they'd be a lot easier to achieve. And who knows what you might get to. So the next step is the C in focus, connect with your conviction for greater consistency. Now, in 1992, I was invited by Guide Dogs New South Wales, ACT, to go on a trek to Nepal with 5 other blind people. And the only thing I knew about Nepal was that Mount Everest was there. And I was pretty young and fit, but I knew I wasn't fit enough to climb Everest. But after hearing who was going, there was, an Olympic triathlete, and there was an Ironman triathlete, I should say, and a Paralympic sprinter. And I thought, oh, wow, there's some pretty cool people going. I should give it a go. So I decided yes, that I would go. And I knew that I was reasonably fit, but I knew deep down in my heart that if I didn't get fitter, I would be left behind. And that was not going to happen. Absolutely not. So I started riding my parents' exercise bike, and I started 5 minutes a day. And then every day it was like 6 minutes and 7 minutes, 8 minutes, till I got to 15 minutes. And then I discovered just how much I hate exercise bikes. I still do. So I thought, well, we'll be climbing lots of hills and lots of steps. So why not hire a step machine? So I did that, hired a step machine, and increased the time, and also went on lots and lots and lots of walks. And I got to the point where I was stepping on the step machine for 1 hour twice a day, holding a heavy backpack. And we also went on lots of walks. And here I am with my mum crossing a creek, and they tell me she looks like she's about to fall in, but thankfully she didn't. So, where we did lots of different walks over different terrain, and we experimented with different ways of being guided. Some of the other trekkers talked about using trekking poles, but Mum and I had developed this method of her guiding me when we used to go down the coast, and we used to walk around the rocks together and around the beach. And I would walk behind her with my hands on her hips, so that when she stepped forward with her right foot, her right hip would go forward, and I would then be able to step where she had stepped previously. But that wouldn't work in Nepal with Sherpas, because it wouldn't really be appropriate to put my hands on their hips. And so we experimented with holding onto a backpack, and that worked really well because I could feel the same movement through Mum's hips. And so we were matched up with our own individual Sherpas. And these guys were all trekking leaders in their own right. So they spoke really good English, or good enough to say, step up with your left foot and mind the tree root, and step up with your right foot and be careful because it's slippery here. And it was an amazing experience, this trek. And our beautiful Sherpas guided us up to, as you heard in my bio, the top of Poon Hill. And they only call it a hill in Nepal. It's not even classified as a mountain. It's higher than any mountains we've got here. But, anyway, so that was the top of Poon Hill. And we all wanted to know, where the different mountains were. So our Sherpas took us by the hand and said, like, Dhaulagiri's here and K2's here. And we'd say, oh, where's Everest? And they'd say, oh, Everest is over there somewhere. But you can't see it because it's hidden by clouds. So, but as careful as our guides were, we still had some slips and trips. And one of the trekkers decided, let's make a competition out of this. And so we defined something called a technical fall. And a technical fall was if you slipped and 3 parts of your body touch the ground. So 2 hands and a knee, or 2 knees and a hand. And after some debate, we decided that 2 butt cheeks were also 2 parts of the body. So 2 butt cheeks and a hand would class as a technical fall. And the Sherpas got in on this too. And we're walking along and he'd hear this Sherpa voice call out, technical fall. And you'd know who it was because from the Sherpa voice. And so the winner of the competition, it was decided, would buy everyone a drink when we got back to Kathmandu. So, but ironically, the person who won the competition wasn't one of the blind trekkers. It was one of the sighted people. In fact, the person who came up with the idea to do the trek, Glenn. And he'd been walking along, minding his own business when he slipped off the edge of the path and he'd rolled down a slight embankment, thankfully not hurting himself seriously. But we all decided that he'd won the competition because he'd touched the ground with his whole body many times as he rolled down the embankment. So that was that. So if I didn't want to go to that one, but anyway, we'll leave that one there because I can't go backwards. At least I don't think I can. Sorry, I hit the wrong button and went to the wrong slide and my brain stopped for a second. But anyway, that's okay. Sorry, I'll try that again. Hopefully Rose can edit this bit out. Anyway, so all the way through the training and through the trek, there were many times where I wanted to quit because it was hard. I mean, getting that fit, and then going on a long, steep, slippery trek, as fun as it was also hard. And there were times where I wanted to quit, but I didn't, because the one thing that kept me going was that conviction that I could not be left behind. I absolutely could not be left behind. That was just not an option. So I had to get fit. I had to keep going. I had to keep up with the other trekkers, and I did. And it was so worth it. But you might be wondering, what is your conviction? Maybe it's a lifelong dream you've had. Maybe it's a business achievement that you want to get to. You want to get to top salesperson or top person in your field, or maybe you know that you have to earn a certain amount of money so that you can afford to take your family on a holiday this year. It could be one of many things. Maybe it's your life's purpose. And that's why I put up the cover of my book, because I've actually written a book, which Rose kindly mentioned in the introduction, about how to discover your life's purpose and put it into action. And now that I know what my life's purpose is, to inspire and encourage others, that is the conviction that keeps me going when I get stuck. So the next step is the U in focus, is upgrade your courage. Now, courage is like a muscle. You can't just, you need to gradually make it strong, and then you need to keep it strong. Like weightlifting. When I was, a while ago, I used to be able to deadlift 1.5 times my body weight. I'm a bit larger now, so I can't quite do that anymore. But anyway, I used to be able to lift 1.5 times my body weight. But I couldn't do that straight away. I just started with the bar. And you're just lifting the 20 kilo bar up and down. And then as I got stronger, then the weights got heavier and the weights got heavier. And I always knew when I was going to lift heavier than I had before, because my trainer used to say, now just do exactly what you did before. Now just do everything exactly the same. And I thought, oh, she's put the weight up. Anyway, it wasn't just getting it strong. I had to keep it strong. Now, remember that story that I've been telling you about catching buses and being afraid to catch buses? Well, I ended up taking the job. And my fear of catching buses was so great that my training had to start small. I had to get on and off a stationary bus and find a seat. That's all I did for the first day. And then once I'd got that, then the bus driver kindly drove round and round the block, and I got on and off the bus, practiced ringing the bell, getting off the bus, getting on, finding a seat. That was the first day. I was absolutely shattered after that day. I was so tired. And then the next day, we did a short journey with an instructor sitting next to me to keep me calm. And did a couple of those. And then as my courage muscle got stronger, then I went on a longer journey. And I knew the instructor was on the bus somewhere, but I didn't know where. She said, oh, look, I'll be up the back somewhere, but you just put your hand up if you have any trouble and I'll come and get you. So, but that was all right. Made that journey and did a couple of those. And then finally, as my courage muscle got stronger, I then had to meet the instructor at an agreed location. And that was pretty scary, but I did it. And now I'm proud to say that I now travel by bus all over Canberra to speak. So what could you do to build your courage muscle? It doesn't have to be a big thing. It could just be, making one sales call, or speaking to a different person that you haven't spoken to, or driving a different way to the office if you have an office. It could be anything, but you have to keep doing these small things to keep your courage muscle strong. And I found this too when the lockdowns were on and I couldn't do any PR speaking and I didn't catch a bus for about 6 months. That first bus ride was really hard. But so now I just know that it's one of those things that I have to keep doing to keep my courage muscle strong. So finally, the S of focus. See your success by putting your courage into action. And I don't have any pictures for this one, so you'll just have to look at me. When I was made redundant, I sold skincare for a while, Arbonne skincare, beautiful product. But I was really no good at selling it. I frightened away all my friends and work colleagues because I did it all the wrong way. Didn't do what I was told. Did it my way, as I often do. And anyway, but I thought, surely if I go to the global training conference in Vegas, surely I'll be able to learn how to make my friends and family buy more product from me, which of course, if any of you are in network marketing, you know that's not the aim of the game. Anyway, so I wanted to go to Vegas, but I didn't have any money, or I only had just enough money to get there and back. But all the other Arbonne consultants I knew were going with their friends and family and making a holiday of it. And they were going early and coming back late. So if I wanted to go to the conference, I was going to have to go on my own. And I took a bit of organizing, got a really good travel agent. Big shout out to Flight Centre. Got a really good travel agent who organized everything for me and let everyone know I was coming, contacted the airlines, got me a good seat next to the toilet so I could do that independently on the flight. That was great. And I'd flown before many times, so that wasn't a problem. And even overseas, but I'd always been met at the other end by someone I knew. But this time I had to fly to LA. I had to change planes, get through LA airport, change planes, and then fly to Vegas. And then I had to catch a cab to the MGM Grand where we were staying, when then I could finally Facebook message the Aussies who were there and go, I'm here, come and get me. And even then they didn't come and get me. They went, we're by the pool, it's too far, get security to take you, because it took us half an hour to walk from my room to the pool. Anyway, I made it there safely and the conference was great and I learned a lot, but not what you would think. So after the conference, I had arranged to meet up with one of the other consultants. And then she messaged me just before the appointed time and said, oh, look, got a better offer. I've been invited to a pool party and I don't think you'll like it. It's going to be like really loud and really noisy and lots of people. And, you have to get back in time for your flight. And it's like, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I probably wouldn't like it. That's fine. Enjoy yourself. So she went. And so I thought, oh gosh, what do I do? I have to check out now. So I suppose I'll just go downstairs and see what's happening. So went downstairs and went to the counter and explained that I had 6 hours to kill. And they went, oh, look, you can sit in the VIP lounge. And I went, oh, I don't know what that is, but okay. Pete's sitting on a plastic chair in Starbucks. So off we went to the VIP lounge and sitting there for a while. And I remembered what my friend or the colleague I was meant to meet up with, what she taught me about gratitude. And because I was feeling a bit grumpy sitting in the lounge by myself, I thought, oh, what can I be grateful for? Well, there's a counter behind me. Someone can give me food if I need it. I'm sitting on a nice comfy couch here. I've got 6 hours of free Wi-Fi I wasn't banking on, so I'll watch some Arbonne videos. And I had my little Arbonne carry bag at my feet as well. And he should tap me on the shoulder, but the CEO of Arbonne. It's like, wow, only the top people in their field get to meet her, the people who cross the stage and get Tiffany jewelry and that sort of thing, not, bottom of the rung consultants like me. So that was very cool. Got to meet her and told her that meeting her made the next 6 hours I was going to spend in the lounge worth it. And she went, oh, 6 hours. She said, oh, look, get something to eat, put it on the Arbonne account. Get whatever you like. Oh, thanks so much. So she left. Half an hour later, get another tap on the shoulder. Hello, my name's Michael and I'm the head butler from the MGM Grand. And I hear you're hungry. Oh, well, a candy, I say, frantically trying to remember the room service menu. And so I ordered a club sandwich and he went, oh, no, look, we won't bring it down to you. He will take you up to Sky Lounge. I thought, oh, I don't know what that is. Another type of lounge, I suppose. So we went in a different elevator to the one we normally went in, and it didn't announce the floors. And I thought, well, this is a bit strange. Anyway, we get up to this place and it turns out that the Sky Lounge is the penthouse of the MGM Grand. And I spent the next 3 hours sitting with Mike, eating a club sandwich and a bowl of crisps big enough to be an entire meal on its own, just because I could, with Mike regaling me of stories of all the other famous people who'd sat at that table and, being treated like a princess. It was great. And anyway, he says, oh, how are you getting to the airport? And I said, oh, well, I was just going to go and get the bellboy to get me a cab. He said, oh, don't do that. You can go in one of our cars. And I thought, oh, all right, hire a car. Okay, that's good. So we go downstairs, not even allowed to touch my luggage. The hotel manager carries my luggage. And we get downstairs and we don't go out the front entrance of the MGM Grand. We go out the back. And what's waiting for me out the back? But a Rolls Royce. I kid you not. And as we rode to the airport in the most comfortable car I have ever been in, I reflected on my afternoon. I could have taken the easy option and I could have asked for late checkout. And I could have just sat in my room and watched videos. But instead, I chose to take the brave option. I chose to put my courage into action. And I got treated like a princess for the afternoon and I got to ride in a Rolls Royce. But so I'm not promising you that you'll get to be treated like a princess and ride in Rolls Royce if you put your courage into action, but you will certainly, I promise you, see your success. Now, if you like what you've heard and you know of any organizations or businesses or associations or anyone really who you think my focus model might help, perhaps they need to grow their courage, perhaps they need some resilience, perhaps they're struggling with uncertainty, please do reach out. And here are my contact details here if you want to take a photo, and I'm sure Rose will be able to pass them on to you. So yeah, please do reach out because that's how I get all my referrals, is by word of mouth. And before I go, I just want to leave you with a little something. If you're facing a challenge today and it's feeling a bit overwhelming, I promise you, you've got this. I know you've got this. Just reach down deep inside, grab hold of that courage that I know is within you, and I promise you, you will be just fine. My name is Amanda Heal. Thank you.
An amazing shared that on talking with the experts, but I don't tire of hearing it, because I would love one day to be treated like a princess and get a ride in a Rolls Royce.
It's very cool.
That would be so cool. Anyway, thank you for sharing your focus system. I really love it. And I think, you know, if we all focused a little bit more and found our courage, because it's not always easy to find courage and exercise that courage muscle, because, you know, other things get in the way. But if we take your steps and your words of wisdom, then I'm sure that we can all find our courage and find our success.
Excellent. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining me, Amanda, and I will talk to you again really soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.